Yeah, I mean, for today, I mean, I just made I made another list of stuff. It's
Right.
like a lot of questions and just again, some of the stuff left over from last time and some newer stuff. Again, just trying to form some kind of narrative and like direction, for myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I took into consideration a lot of what you said the last time, and I put it into practice, and it did seem to work, a lot of it.
Really.
So it was very interesting. So thank you.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
like for example, like trying to like reframe how when things are being projected onto you, trying to like play that game where you establish the properties of the interaction. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the you know. So for example, I had like something trying to. I always get like these beings trying to make me really really tired, so I can't like focus. That's
Yeah.
like the main thing. So I did what you had suggested in that scenario, and it did seem to work. There was a back and forth where I would feel like it would ease up,
Hmm.
and like I wouldn't feel as tired. Like it would just like lift off me that like heavy feeling of tiredness, and then they would try something else, to get around that,
Yeah.
and it would be a back and forth until I would fall asleep. So I'm still working on it, but yes, definitely it helped a lot, and I was very surprised to see like how easy it was and how quickly um, it happened. Um, and the other thing that I had tried was when we spoke about the tunnel, and then it potentially being some kind of like trap or something. We had spoken about me seeing a wormhole and going through that thing. So I attempted just thinking that it might be some kind of like trap or something, just to like in my mind just dissolve it, see myself like going through it, but like seeing it dissolve,
Yeah.
and I would keep doing that. And I did this specifically when I was sleeping or when I was coming out of sleep, because that's usually when I would see that. And the most interesting thing happened. It was like kind of like you know, actually, I think I might have the video here, but it was just like I don't know if you know what I mean by a TV refresh rate, like the lines that come down. You
Hmm.
know when you knock the TV and it kind of like
Yeah.
I kind of saw that, like it was like my vision shook for a second. It would shake, and then it would like kind of reset with like these
Hmm.
lines. And like every time I tried to do that, it would kind of do that. So I'm not really sure what that is. I don't know if you can provide any clarity on that. I know I'm asking super specific questions to myself, but if you've ever seen something like that, or
It's all good. I've seen the stuff like not necessarily in that like sort of like tunnel, but like I'm in a planet, I'm just exploring, and all of a sudden like those lines again. I'm like, what is this? Like, like why is it appearing and stuff? So as I was like exploring, and I pretty much like just like my body's here in that like planet, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go out of body when I'm out of body and see what's going on. So I like go like different kind of perspective. And I'm seeing it's like more like a structure, like a planet in the structure and the structure and the structure, and like more like everyone's like controlling it, taking over, like just like seeing how it works and stuff. So I pretty much like just like took over the controls, as soon like like okay, I'm just gonna like, smash the system, make sure like nothing like messes with the planet. So my guess thinking like, hey, someone got you in a box and you're like traveling to a tunnel, and like they're watching you and stuff, and you break the system, and like it shakes their stuff up, and like, oh, like what do we do? So like they try to restart it and cost me and stuff. So the thing would be like to find out like who's creating it or who made it, and to try to like get rid of it somehow.
okay, that's the next plan. Yeah. The good thing is I haven't really seen it lately, and so that is a good thing. I don't always see it. That's the thing. So I'm still not sure, 100% sure exactly if it's a trap or it's just where I, you know, unconsciously or
Hmm.
subconsciously I'm traveling. But yes, I did definitely see something when trying to dissolve it, and yeah, definitely look into
Yeah.
look into if someone's putting me into a box. That
Yeah.
yeah,
Another
gotta
thing you
make
can
sure.
try is like while being in a tunnel, like try switching your vibration. Like if possibly stop, or if you have to like just keep on flying, just do that. But focus on yourself and try to like sort of, let's say, like raise your vibration, where you, let's say, think about love and like get into a very good feeling place. It's more like, you can shift reality, and like from a tunnel that where you are trapped, you can shift to a tunnel where you are free, kind of like. So like just like jump one level up.
That's good. That's awesome. I love that it's so intertwined with creativity. You have to be like creative and imaginative
Yeah.
to be able to do this stuff. It's very interesting. Um, yeah, I mean that I tried that. I did try having conversations as well, and I do get responses. And the problem is that I'm doing it like when I'm like in my most relaxed state, which is like right before sleep or right when I'm getting up. So like
Yeah.
I don't remember the conversation. So but there was definitely like a back and forth, and it happens often
Hmm.
where I really don't feel like where I feel it's like an outside, you know, um, outside stimulus, I should say, or talk back. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and like document that in a better way.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, like, do you sleep alone or with someone else?
well, with my girlfriend.
Yeah, good. I was like thinking, like, recording the conversation, like instead of having it in your mind, like just talking out loud. But like before, I'd be like, yeah, like, well, I might do it my like own mind, like just not disturb people and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, the vocal thing. Yeah, well, that or yeah, even like notating on my phone or because it's like when you're in that sleep mode, it's so hard to like I know it's so weird to say, but it's like I really feel like it's sometimes you feel like there's 100 pounds on you, and you're like just to get up to do that
Yeah.
stuff
It's
it's
really
probably part
interesting.
of the
I'm
part
sorry
of
for
it.
getting you off. Like I'm having like a lot of like sessions with people, and I notice like with some of them I'm working, and then I find like, oh, like this is interesting, and all of a sudden everything becomes dizzy, and I'm tired as can be, and I'm like, I'm gonna fall asleep in a session, like, and it really knocks me
Yeah.
out. So like
Yes.
sometimes like they're like you're knowing too, like you're finding out too much. You're about to know like too much than you're allowed. So they're trying to like mess with us. And like for example, going on body and like being there and doing our work, or like like what you're doing. You don't necessarily have to be like fully out, but like like you have the full awareness of what's going on. And the thing is, like, people are programmed like when the body falls asleep, the consciousness spiritually we fall asleep as well. We're not supposed to. And that's what they're doing, like, because it's like spiritually we're out there, we're exploring, and they're trying to turn off the button. We're like, okay, we fall asleep, and that they turn us off. So, uh, finding who's causing it, like for like in a session, like when I feel like super tiredness, I stop everything and target like what is the source of that. And if you can like target the source, it really like just like you say, like lifts off, and all of a sudden like it's gone. So another thing to look at.
So for you, does it when it lifts off, does it come back? Are they really persistent, or or is it like once you like rid yourself of that, it's okay for the rest of the session?
Like it depends. I always try to go like with the hierarchy, like, oh, okay, like this being targets me, and they cause sleep. But I keep in mind that like they always work in hierarchy if it's the dark forces. So I always like try to go like little flyers up, like see who's at the highest and stuff. If you get the leader, so to speak, then it's out fully. And that's when I was like, like, oh, I can get the little guys and they're done. But it's always someone higher who can use the little guys again. So like you just like find the main source, like who created in the original place, and once that is out, like the whole session's like, wow, like it's such a big difference, like when you're fully clear and like, okay, this is working. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there is such a huge difference, and I mean, it happens every single time. Every single time I spot them, like standing right there, it's immediate. It's immediate. It's actually a great way to fall asleep if ever you can't sleep. I've actually used it if I really can't sleep, but um, yeah, I mean the lead. I know you've said that in your videos, and I actually completely forgot to do that, to look towards the like how do you see it, like this session I just have like a ton of questions for you, like because the last session gave me more to think on, and like how do you see this, like is it like just it's like completely like it's like how we're interacting right now, you can like shift consciousness in that way, and like when you think about being brought to the leader, does it just like pop up in front of you, that type of thing?
Yeah, pretty much like I taught myself to like track people. Like when I get a body, I'm like a dog sniffing out for a goodie. Like okay, like I'm tracking this different all stuff. And for example, okay, let's say we have humans or Grace or whoever is messing with me or my clients, and I like it used to be that like I have full access, so I see people and I see everything, and the kind of like it's too much to handle. So like made rule, okay, whenever I touch something with my left hand, like touch their hand and stuff, I'm gonna get their memories. So I can like see people, oh, you're messing with me now. I walk up to them, I touch them, and then I have full recall of their memories. So basically, when I recall their memories, it's like having a movie roll, like reel, and every frame is like a lifetime or a moment, and like look at like okay, this would happen 50 years ago, 60, 100, oh, a billion years ago, and it's their leader. Oh, okay, let's just pick that moment. And for example, like just focusing on that, I make my consciousness shift to that moment, and also I teleport. So like conscious shifting to that specific place, I'm there. And like that's the best thing about us, is that we don't have to teleport or fly or anything. It's like shifting consciousness, like you're here, you're there, and that's all it takes.
Do you that's so fascinating. I love hearing this stuff because it's super, super interesting. Super interesting. When that happens, like, is there like a loading screen, or are you there instantly?
Instantly. That's the best part about it. And like very interesting thing is that I can actually, and everyone I'm sure can do it, split like your perspectives. So I can be here at this moment, but I can have two, three, 100, a million like parts of myself working simultaneously. So if you play video games and you're playing with your friend like co-op, and you have a split screen, it's literally like having millions of split screens, and you see everything simultaneously and experience everything simultaneously. It's like pretty awesome.
That's amazing. It's funny you just mentioned two things that I have also experienced. The film reel type of thing.
Mm.
When I first started doing this stuff, I did see that type of thing too, where it's like you see like periods of time. I didn't know how to relate it, or but definitely have seen that type of thing. And the split screen thing is interesting because I remember when I was at a peak with like exploring this stuff. I would close my eyes and I could see like um, myself from like 3, 4 different perspectives at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you see like up here, but I could also see myself like from the front, and get a sense of myself from like the left and the right. It was so strange, and I didn't understand like what that was. So you think it was that? Is it that type of thing? Are you seeing from the
Totally.
fifth dimension? Or
Yeah, because
okay,
like you can like stand here in your room, and if you can like just like let's say move your point of view like behind you and in front of you and in other parts, all of these can like be done simultaneously, and you have that ability, which is like awesome.
yeah, it's so. I'm still trying to understand all this stuff, because like to me, like I just it all started by coming across some video on YouTube that really like set me on like doing exploring this as a discipline. 'Cause before then it was all and we're talking about like 10, 15 years ago. Before then it was all like stuff that I believed and experienced, but not necessarily pursued. Whereas now it's like I'm asking people about it and trying to like understand um what so I'm a lot of these questions are going to come up this session, but like, what purpose does all of this serve? Like, why am I able to do this? Like, why? What what can I do with that? Like in that realm, why am I able to see, or why are we able to see from like these multiple different perspectives at the same time, and how do we use that practically uh, for our spirit work?
Yeah, for me, like since it happens a lot, I'm more like allowing myself to enjoy the experience. Because we're here in human body, we have like okay, we just see through our eyes. We have limited like
Yeah.
visibility. We have limited senses. Like we touch things. Oh, okay, it's just a table. It's just a drink, and like the air is this fresh and stuff. When you're out of the body, when you're out there, everything's kind of like upgraded. You feel like wow, like it's fresh air, and you love it. Like every single thing becomes like somehow like unique and important and way better than it was to be. So with the different kind of point of views, you can like actually like you just like oh okay I'm just gonna be a cameraman, and you're using your point of views to watch the conversation from different angles, kind of like just seeing what's going on in the background and stuff. That's like, like sort of like simple things, but at the same time, I think you could like actually move your point of views to different places. And let's say you're talking to this person, but you could actually access like his memories or like like Akashic records, see the connections. And while you're talking to this person, you can actually here are the important people that he talked to as well. And boom, all of your perspectives goes to these people simultaneously, and you have everything going on like at the same time. And you just have like different conversations at the same time going, and like massive load of information like right here right now.
How when you're getting information, like how does it download? Does it download as like imagery, or is it like a big package that you need to um, like sort out and like figure out? Like how does it work for you?
It's knowingness. Like literally, like since we're consciousness, we know and we are everything. And then we move into like identity of like, okay, human body, like Akvile, and that, like, so that's me. But at the same time, I can be everything and nothing at once. So when all that information comes, it's more like it already was there. I just became aware of it, kind of like.
That's true. That's true. It does work like that. It's very interesting. It's like Star Wars. It's basically Star Wars.
Pretty
Like,
much, yeah.
the
Just
further
million
we
years
go,
ahead.
I know, like the further we go, the more I feel like Star Wars is literally like a documentary, you know.
Totally.
Um, yeah. What else? There's just a ton of stuff here, so I'm just gonna like sort it out. One interesting thing that I have come across, and it just kept popping up, was I believe it was a reptilian, because of I was, this is a couple of years back. I was very interested about the moon. You know, like I wanted to see. Like I know the moon is a base, and I know all that stuff. You know, but I even have books that just like totally prove it on a physical level. But I wanted, you know, once I realized that, I became aware of it. I wanted to see inside. You know, so.
Yeah.
Every time I would do that. I mean, I did see like buildings and pyramids and that type of thing, but once I started doing it regularly, just I don't know if I can share a screen with you. Might be hard to see because it's a little dark. I don't know if you can see it, because this is exactly how I would see it. It was
Yeah.
basically, can you see that clearly?
Uh-huh.
It was basically like talking about Star Wars. Actually, it's funny that we just like went into it that organically, but it would literally be every time I would see like this silhouette. He's sitting on a chair, and it would turn like this. He would turn and like face me every single time. So, is that like a security guard or something on the moon, or like some kind of like astral guard, or is it like some guy, or is it someone who's like ruling, or in charge of the moon? Or I don't know if you've encountered that type of thing. I'm
Yeah.
sure you've gone to see the moon yourself.
Like from my perspective, like some of these beings can like like are interdimensional, so they can be on moon and go like like on Earth and like higher like dimensions and stuff, and they can also do simultaneously. So just imagine that before he showed up, that person was actually communicating with someone else. Like he like sees something in front of him, and we might not be able to pick it up, but he was having conversation, maybe telepathically. You show up like, okay, bye now, it turns to you. So like it happens a lot when I'm like in like exploring. I'm just like, oh, I was like I interrupted them or like something happened. Like here I am, showed up, like ruined the show. Like oops. So like that's one of the ways to pick it up. But like there's probably like lots of scenarios of how it can go.
I feel like maybe it might be like some guy, because like it's so weird, because like I wasn't thinking of, I want to see any particular. I just said, I want to see the moon. Show
Yeah.
me, inside the moon. And I feel like I would get, when you try to access a website and you get like the 404 message. I kind of feel like it was that. I kind of like got, after a while, I was just getting like tunneled to that guy, and then
Is
it
it
was just,
always the same person?
yeah, it was every time I saw it, it was that particular being. Same, and in the same movement, like turning and facing me every single time.
And how
You know,
how does then like do you get to see more than that, or do you see him and then it ends like you come back?
it was just, he would just face me, and that was it. There was not even any interaction. I was just like, okay, this. and the thing is that I don't feel threatened. I don't feel scared. You know, I feel actually even more curious. I'm like, who
Mhm.
is that? Why? It brings up questions. You know, but that's the other thing. Like I never really feel threatened or feel like that project because like you know they project that fear like the darker beings. They
Yeah.
have like that tangible feeling of like that chill and that fear. It didn't project that. It was just like observing. So I'm not quite sure what it is.
Yeah, it makes me think like, for example, like when we started watching movies or video games, there's always that like introduction to something else, like, oh, this is the company that made it, like
Yeah,
Fox 20 or like, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like that, like, like before you enter the moon and see all the stuff inside, like there's a person greeting you, and oh, like you already went out, like kind of like that. So I don't know, like, how long does it last, or what makes you come back, or like what makes it all end?
From what I remember, it's just I would just open my eyes, you know, or just like shift my attention. I would open
Mhm.
my eyes, I'd turn over and just shift my attention elsewhere. I just wouldn't continue pursuing it because it felt like a block. And I also didn't want to recognize it as a reptilian, so I didn't really want to. I felt like I was kind of being like, okay, you can't go any further than here. So I was like, all right, I'll shift. I'll look elsewhere. Because just
Yeah.
because I had encountered, some negative stuff, I didn't want to like push the issue. I felt like pushing the issue would get me in trouble. This is before I I started watching all your videos and came upon Rich, so I didn't really realize like what our role in all this was.
Yeah. One thing you could try doing is like, imagine a protection shield around yourself so that no one could harm you, and just like when you see that being, ask if you can, like, can I just spectate, not do anything, not interact with anyone, just spectate. There were like times when like I would get the same stuff where like there's some kind of blockage or it's hard to get in, but like they kind of like have like, let's say, a Faraday's cage, or like some sort of systems where they don't want intruders, they don't want anyone snooping around, like, like, same stuff, like, why you would not want any guy like looking at your car, like, oh, hey, go away, kind of like. So you want your stuff to be safe, and if they're like, like, if you're under their watch and you're just a spectator, like, like someone's looking at your car, like, and you were watching them, then it's fine, and you just ask for the permission and try to get in, because like, I went into some bases and like, like Grace and different kind of beings, or like, let's say, some the like dumps or like military bases underground, like here on Earth. I did the same thing, and like I had the blackish like a few times, and I was like, oh, okay, like let me spectate. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not gonna say like to anyone out loud. Just like let me see that stuff, and they would allow me, and then I could actually walk around and like see all the beings and like all the places, like the structures, which like pretty awesome. And like, like, hey, I'm out, thank you, like that's they're okay, like they have a sort of like a mutual respect, as in your powers and what you're capable of, and they're aware that and they're like, oh, okay, well, if we fuck up, we're doomed, because like these guys are powerful, so let's just play safe, and like they give us this blackish, like they're not trying to, like, you're not feeling fear because they respect you. And with
Okay.
people that they know, like, oh, we know that this guy doesn't know about its powers, so we can actually scare them. Which is why kids get scared, or people who are like first timers to get out of body, for example, they don't have enough awareness. They get scared because like they don't know about their powers. But if you do know what you're capable of, they're like, we have to be careful. Like they're kind of worried about this stuff.
That's very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, because like I've never I know people have like bad experiences, but I've never had like a really terrible experience where I'm being like terrified. Like it never happened. I have been paralyzed and that type of thing, but never it's never come to a point where I mean, yet,
Yeah.
yet. But whenever I encountered visions like that and interactions like that, it was never I never had that fear projected onto me. Whereas lower beings lower on the totem pole, I feel they do that because
Yeah.
they are scared. They are in fact terrified. Do you think that is what they're projecting onto you? It's their own fear of us.
Uh, Pretty much. Like they know what we're capable of, and like they're like, they will try to do everything they can to still like try to be above us. So if they can like project, like, let's say their fears onto us, and like, oh, like they're powerful, and actually like they're powerful is what they're thinking about us, you know. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden, like, you know, like just like, you know, like having understanding, or like having more awareness of like what they think and how they feel. They know, like, you know, like, shit, we got it coming, like, you know, they have to be like very careful. So when I'm working with people and they're being messed with these like, reptilian queens and stuff, and I teleport them, and I'm like this small little girl looking at this like massive 20 feet reptilian, and I'm like, what are you doing? You know, like, kind of like, you know, like it's kind of funny because here comes the little human with the massive reptilian, and I am telling what to do and stuff, and they're listening because they have respect. They will not try to mess with me. They're like, fuck.
That's amazing. So you get, so yeah, you'll get these towering. Do they have armor by any chance? Have you seen them like with like they got helmets and they're like super like the really really tall ones? I've seen them as well in well, you know, dreams, but I really don't feel like it was a dream. I feel like I was there. And do they have like they're like red? They're dressed in like they got like the I don't know how to explain it. They kind of look like the Knights Templar, but like they're giant.
Yeah.
Like, do they have like that type of armor and stuff, or have the
Totally.
ones that
Like,
you've seen?
really depends on the factions and groups, because like not all of them are the same. Which like, you know, what we know. So like certain groups, like, you know, like to be naked, like yay freedom for the body and stuff. But there's like, you know, like have certain code of dress, and like, you know, like oh, some will have armor, some will have like different kind of like more like, let's say, suit or like other things. Like with like high tech and different things. So like depends on faction and like what they're like and stuff.
Okay, it's so funny that they're like these towering like dinosaurs, and like you could just they're so terrified of us.
Yeah.
Like, let's see what else. Oh, talking about like underground stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen this type of thing, because this is another thing I actually saw recently where I became lucid in a dream, and I was like, all right, I want to travel. I want to do some traveling. And I said that very thing. I want to go underground and see what's, I want to go to a base underground. I didn't specify, just like, I want to go to a base underground. So like the reason I had asked you earlier if you have like a loading screen is because when I thought that, everything went black and a door just opened, like appeared in front of me with light emanating out of it. So I walked through it, and like as I walked through it, I walk into this. How can I explain? Actually, I got a picture of it.
All
But
right.
I walked into like this clearing. It was underground. It's like stone, and it was lit by an interior sun. That's what I would call it, like a giant big yellow light. And everything was yeah. I saw like kind of huts that were like kind of like this,
Mm-hmm.
but they were big, and they had a lot of windows, and they were kind of like scaly and shiny.
Yeah.
And little beings came running out of it, but I couldn't specify like what they were. They were just like gray blobs from far, and they just started coming running after me. So when I saw that, and there were tons of these huts like everywhere, and it was kind of like a tall cavern, very very tall cavern. So like once they saw me and they started running, I was like, all right, I'll get out of here. So I'm wondering if you've ever seen. The question is always the same. Have you seen this type of thing? Is this like a reptilian uh, like way of living, or and why is it so prehistoric?
Yeah. Like different races have different preferences. Like for example, like humans like got more advanced, so like, oh, we're gonna live in an apartment instead of a cave because it's better and more comfortable somehow. And you know, exploring like different kind of races, like going into like, let's say, reptilian worlds. Some of them are living in spaceships. Some of them like have like massive like skyscrapers and like high tech like civilization and cities and stuff. And they actually like luxury. Like they're like, hey, they like their comfy bag and everything else. Just it's more like the preference of a race. And other people, you know, they can be like, for example, 100,000 years advanced. They have like this, like, let's say, technology where they click something on their hand, a screen pops up, and it's like interactive, like holographic screen where like everything works, but they're still sleeping in their stone buildings. Why? Why are you doing that? You know, like they have the highest tech, they have spaceships, and they're like sleeping on like on their floor. and so on and so like that. So it's more like preference of a race, their culture, their lifestyle, which is like actually sort of like fascinating because like, oh, they're not always living in apartments or houses. They don't always have the same fancy stuff. Some people are actually like, imagine like a flower, or like, let's say some sort of like plant, and like beings sleep on that. Like it rolls up into a hammock, but then it also has like kind of like the roofing and stuff. So like the plant covers up the being and like makes a bed for them, and they sleep in that. So like there's like lots of variations, and it's just their culture. There's their stuff, and that's pretty
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing because there's so much variety. There's so much variety. That's why I want to see more of this. I want to like experience more of it. And that's why I find like what you do is so amazing because if I were you, I would like constantly be be like exploring. Like, do you do that? You find yourself doing that, or have you come to a point where now you're not over it, but you're like, yeah, okay, I'll put some time aside to go explore. Like, what's your take on it at this point?
I'm sort of glad because I still like remained curious. Like for example, like my first UBs without realizing was like when I was like a baby, like being able to experience past lives, and like now I'm 22, and all these like years, I'm still like, I'm like, hey, it's really interesting, and like like I do lots of sessions. I like, okay, done with people, need time to relax. And sometimes my relaxation is just like, like, let's say having a cup of tea or like water, and just thinking like, okay, this is like nice drink, and then I just like daydream, but at the same time, like I'm going into like realms where it's all nice and beautiful and just chill, and I'm just like there, like like my physical body is here inside the house, like I'm sitting on the chair, but out there I'm in the forest or on the mountains, and I'm just like having the fresh air, like really enjoying it, and I come back refreshed. I'm like, wow, that was cool.
Oh
So I
man,
did a lot.
so you can go on vacation without taking a
Pretty
taking a
much,
flight.
yeah.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. Like, when did this begin for you? Like, you said, you started having out of body experiences when you were a baby. Like, but when did you become conscious of the fact that you were able to do this so well and so easily?
I think like when I was like 14, 15, that's where like I discovered Rich, and he explained what I was experiencing, and I'm like, oh, so that's what it is. So like I got a better understanding, and then he just like showed me a few ways of how to do it more. Because of my life, like I was like doing really like good in life, and then shit happened. So here's the fan, like, so I'm more suppressed, and I'm like I'm feeling like an alien. So I'm just gonna shut off my all of my abilities and stuff. So I turned it all off, and then it's like quite a few years without UBs and stuff, and I'm like, oh, so that's what it is. And then I started learning, and I started learning my abilities again, and it's back up. So like when I was like 14, 15 years old, I learned about it. I'm practicing again, and finally I have my own freedom, and I started like it took me a while, but more like reassuring myself and like commending myself for doing that stuff. Because more people are like, oh, you're just imagining stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to do that. Like it's not that and stuff. But actually, like giving yourself freedom and like, hey, you did well. You explored something, you found something, and like just patting yourself on the back without like letting anyone else judge you. Like like you're just like sort of like hyping yourself up and all. But it went to a stage where like I started getting out of body every day, every night, like eight times a night and stuff. Like literally like, my body gets out like for a few hours when I'm like physically asleep, and I lived there for like 5 or 10 years, and like wow, like I'm coming back like, what am I doing here again? Because like it's been a while.
Really? So you would experience, because I know I heard you speak about this in your videos, and that actually the fact that you bring it up reminds me how like amazed I was when I heard that. It's just the thought of it is amazing. Like you got out of body and like you spent like 5 to 10 years like living another life,
Yeah,
and then you come back
exactly.
like literally five. Like you would celebrate birthdays.
Yeah.
Like how would that work? Like, how did that work?
Yeah. So like because like time is relative and stuff, so like physical body can have like only a few hours or minutes, but out there like, it could be like years and stuff. And depending on civilizations, for years we're talking about like even maybe like in human years it's 5 years, but you've just had like 100,000 years there. So like really depends on how you look at it, because like it can be like way more. But yeah, like living the whole lifetime, having a family, having like people that you care for, and then you come back and like fuck, I miss them. Like you come back and like you
Oh,
realize that, so maybe you lost someone, like something like that. So like sometimes like it's really like crushing, or another thing that would happen to me is that like I get out of body and I live like a few weeks ahead or a whole month in this physical world, and I wake up and I'm having conversation and I realize, oh, I only lived it in an OBE and I have to redo it all again. And like
Oh my God, that's amazing. So, so when you live ahead in this in the physical realm and you come back, does it play out exactly the same?
it plays out exactly the same with more triggers, because then I realized like we did not have those conversations. Like I lived, for example, like the whole month, and the person that I developed a better relationship with, like we had so many different conversations and things and projects and stuff, and I started talking about all the stuff we did, and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, and I started explaining and like just like reminding everything, and they don't like they did not live that, and I'm like, fuck. And I realized that like I lived ahead and now I have to redo it all again, and I have like, okay, start over. But sometimes it like messes up the relationships. Like they're like, get crazy and stuff. They react, and it's a thing.
That's amazing. That is like absolutely incredible. So like there's uh when I encountered your work, it reminded me of this, and I can't find it anymore. There was someone else who. That's why when you started speaking about it, and you said that you would be able to live hours and years outside of your body. I had encountered a website years before I saw any of your videos, that it was this guy that was able to do the same thing, right? He was talking about like being able to get out for hours and hours and days and days, and he would live like a week outside of the body, and he documented everything in a website, and it had everything was there, and I can't find the website. It was incredible. Like he would document all the journeys. So like falling upon your work was like it's like a second chance to hear about all this all this type of stuff. I mean, I would really love to be able to experience that. Do you think it's something that you have innately? It's like one of your innate gifts, or do you think it's something that's possible to achieve? You know, and this brings me to some other questions involving like these gifts or these abilities. That's the first question. Do you think it's possible? Would I be able to do this type of thing if I set my intention towards it? Because I would like to.
Yeah. What I tend to believe, just because of my personal experience, like you can actually like train and practice daily and stuff. It depends like how bad you want it. But I think everyone can do it. Like everyone can train themselves to like the level where I am and even better. It's just like I was more lucky because like it's my first time on Earth, and I like didn't have that much shit going on in my life, like like a little while of suppression, but then I was able to stand back, and like having people like Rich who had way more knowledge about my stuff, and me living in a, let's say, like toxic world. He was the like purifier of everything, and I was like, he's a safe point. Like whatever happens to me, if I talk to him, I know like I'm not crazy, and he would reassure me, and like sort of like he was there to nurture me and develop me and like help me to just like nourish my skills and stuff. And like I'm really grateful for that. But like he saw me develop and grow, because for example, like like we used to like, oh, like this is what I experienced, this is the ubi I had, or like that like time where I actually like probably the first time when I started like exploring was I'm like 15 years old, I think, and then I'm at my college house at like my grandparents' place. It's like small little village, like far from city and stuff, like pitch black at night. And I get out, and there's like lights in the sky, and like like kind of like UFOs and stuff. Um, and I went back to sleep after that, and I ended up on a spaceship, first time ever. Like I had not dreamed of aliens before and stuff. And then like I talked to these guys, and they're like, "Hey, we're waiting for you. It's your sign." So like we started having conversation. And when I told about that experience to Rich, he said like, "Well, can we do that again?" And like we would practice. Like he would like guide me out of a body like while I'm fully awake. Or it's like why I can do it now, so it was like like so well, because like it used to be like I'm only experiencing it when I like my physical body falls asleep and I'm there. But now like practicing daily while like physical body is like just like in a calm state, but he's guiding me and I'm working like right here. And
Mm.
I was able to build up like we would like really connect every day and like work a while, explore the ship, like go on more stuff. And then he brings a group with other people, like he does like his like out of body like boot camp, and he would like train other people. And then like we connected with a few people who had similar skills, or like they would be able to close their eyes and like they're actually like shifting. And for me, it was the biggest confirmation ever when I like wave to someone and they wave back, and we're just asking like, "What did you do?" Like, because he's not visual, he doesn't see that stuff. But one person sees like, "Oh, she just waved me," and I'm like, "I did that, but I did not tell it to anyone." Like, she was able to see my every action, and she was able to report it to him, and I was like, "Fuck, this is freaking real," you know?
That's amazing. That is amazing. I love hearing stuff like that. So you said it's your first time on Earth. It's really your first time?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Welcome.
Thank
How do you like it
you.
so far?
Never again. Worst
Yeah,
decision ever.
I say the same thing. I'm like, I'm not coming back here. Fuck this place. I've had it. Done. This is the life. This is the lifetime where I'm like, I'm done with this. I love music. I love music. I'm gonna find a place that just has that, find a place that where people do that and they don't have to kill each other or, be so
Totally.
nasty to one another.
Like, I was like in the band. Like, I love music. Like, probably like the same level as you are. But like, anyway, having the love for music, I was like exploring like, why do I love it so much, and like like why is it so healing to me? Because like whatever happens in my life, if there's music, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm taken care of
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
And like I was exploring it, and I find out like since I was like, I love like playing guitar, but like drums, I don't know why, but I love drums and stuff. So I get out of body and exploring like, why is it that? And I found out like, having the rhythm, for example, like, like the rhythm or like, of the drums and stuff, I could actually like just like place my hand on the planet and create the rhythm and heal everyone. Like, the rhythm was healing and actually like raising
Wow.
vibrations and stuff. Or you can like actually like have the rhythm going, and it's like ripples like in the air, like you can actually see it. So that was like my superpower. And instead of having a force like feel like where you're just like pushing people with stuff, I had like drum beats like, and they would actually reach people and like scan them and do like various stuff. So music can be used in tons of ways, like, healing and traveling and different kind of things. And like it's awesome, and like I love this
Yeah.
stuff.
Me too. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Music, definitely. I love that you said that because it's so true. I've always believed that music can heal in that way. The same. I mean, it's all about the intent, but definitely it can definitely heals. So musicians can be seen, with the right intention. The wanting to connect with people and give them your energy, and to have that interaction. Uh,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely does that. That is so cool. That is so cool. I mean, even the there's I don't know if you I'm sure you've been to these realms, but there's what is that? It's happened many times where like I'm coming out of body and I'm hearing the most beautiful melodies, like these harmonies. The first thing that comes to mind is that they're emanating out of crystals. They sound like crystals, like glass, like perfect harmonies. Like where is that? Is that good place, or could that be used? Is that a way to lure souls into another? I'm always like suspicious of like everybody and everything,
yeah,
because I realize like things can be presented in a certain way. What is your experience of that? Have you seen those or experienced those types of harmonies in realms, and what are they connected to?
yeah. There are like lots of realms where like people can actually sing like crystals. So this is their voice. This is like them singing, and they actually have the frequency of like, let's say, guitar coming from their mouth, like kind of different like sounds and stuff, which is like awesome. And you can actually like have like beings communicating with music, and you're like, oh, I understand that. You can actually understand what they're saying, but it comes out in music. So
Oh
like.
man, I'd love to go there with a microphone.
Yeah. So like it's like one type of scenario, but like there are places where like the music is used like more like, let's say, like a Stargate, and you hear the music and you're like, where is it coming from? And like just like following the sound itself like brings you to like, let's say, an open world, and it's like they have like, let's say, gates, or like like accepting people like to the planet or like their realm. And like they have, this is where the music comes from. It's like more like, um let's say it has like a specific radio channel of this like music. So not everyone will hear it, but those who are attuned to it, like, oh, I just found this channel, where's it coming from? And then you find the station, so to speak. So that would be the planet where they have these crystals, and they're more like,
Mhm.
okay, these are the people that think alike, that like have similar vibration, and they can specify who's it gonna be, what kind of a, like, let's say, personality should they have and stuff, and they can like create a specific channel, and those who fit in will be able to find it. So like, like you can actually program things like that, like, like with music, like as your call out, like instead of like having a message like, hey, you can talk to my planet, they're like, no, they just leave out music, and like people who have certain traits and like with love for music, they'll be able to find it and be there. But it's a good point you bring out with the traps. It can totally be a thing. A lot of times, like dark forces, they love using things that we're so passionate about. If people are into learning and studying, and they're like all into, I want to read, like I just want to go to a library and read every single book. Some people, and depends, like for you it would be music, for us it would be like other things, like maybe video gaming, that doesn't matter. But they have their passion, and that can be used against us if we're not aware, and we're just following and like not questioning anything. Like the biggest thing is like not being aware of it. And if you ask a question, you sort of like scan it and stuff, you're good. But like not having the awareness is what can catch you. So I'm glad you're like actually aware of it, so like that's good.
Yeah, I'm like super suspicious, just because of my, my own experiences when I first I started like really again messing around. I'm like 34, so when I started messing around with the stuff, really, it was always innate since I was a kid, but I really started focusing on it like around 20, and I came upon the whole, that false light paradigm first, the one that Cameron Day talks about. And, for a very short period, I was like, just because I'm like, exploring what's presented to me, right?
Yeah.
So like the whole ascended masters thing, and I feel like that kind of put me in kind of like uh, set me up in a way where I fell for a couple tricks, and from there I was able to bust myself out of or away from certain beings.
Yeah.
And yeah, and ever since I've been just like, it always comes up, is this a trap, or is this the real thing? Is this a trap? Are you the real thing, or are you, because they like to impress you with beauty and like you said, your passions, and they entice you with that stuff. It's so sad because it's like you know you always have to like be watching your back. But that brings me to actually the next question: how did you get here? Why did you come here? Was it by choice, or did you get tricked?
By choice, like like there are some people that I'm like supposed to help. Like they ask for help, and I'm like, oh, okay, like here we go again. This time on Earth.
Is this the worst place you've been to, or have you been to a worse place?
um, I would compare it by experience. It's not the worst. There have been places like even like on the higher realms, like like let's say everything that's going on here and there for like in the physical reality is still going on in the fourth and fifth dimension. It's just like space opera on a different level, and different kind of place. So even though we don't feel pain in certain realms, and like we're like cannot be harmed and stuff, there still can be incidents that will like fuck you up. And I'm like looking right now, like what are some of the issues that I still did not get over with? And like there are some like like with the relationships or different kind of things, and I'm like, oh, this is where I have my problems. And, like the triggers really break me apart, and I'm like, fuck, like it's really hard. So like looking at those, I think like the experience like was still like harsher in certain other areas. It's just like in this lifetime it seems more limited because we don't have all of our powers. Like we cannot escape that freely. Most people have limitations and blocks, and not that much of awareness. So like in that realm, it's like, oh, it's really hard, but I can get out by now. Like that is a helpful thing. Or them shooting your body and like you're being cut in half. Like, oh my god, my guts. And you can actually like sort of like put yourself back together, even though you felt the whole impact and like losing your arm, or like seeing like yourself explode. You can still put yourself back together and just keep on going. Like nothing big happened. Like over here, if you lose an arm, like it's not growing back that much. So like by limitations, it's kind of hard, but like there are other hard places there too.
Okay, so on the higher realms, there are hard places to exist in, like
Just
where.
a different level, like maybe not limitations, because over there we have our powers, and like like well, we can like play the game on a different level, but it's being played on a different level, so like it's different.
Okay.
The way they get us there is like by agreements or like by messing with us where we make decisions. So if they can create an incident where they're gonna crash us emotionally, for example, because this is what they're targeting, like crash beings in some sort of way where they start making decisions that they're gonna be bad, and you can have like a great life and you're gonna be helping other people, and just like this recent like one of the recent sessions where this person was helping like 20 million planets simultaneously, like really helping people out, like raising vibration, like helping people and stuff. And here comes a call out, of a race, like, hey, we need help, we have this problem. But this planet was more like holographic, created by like the dark forces, and the being comes in with the intention to help. Again, because he was doing it with so many planets, it was just on our planet, and he got caught up with that, where his experience, like he connects to I'm gonna help, but what he gets projected to him as if like everything was destroyed. And because we are creator beings, they project us and we agree that, oh, this is the reality because we're seeing it, for example. So they project the movie of what happened, it did not. It was just like we're gonna try showing the preview. And the being seeing it experiences as real and starts creating that. So all the planets were exploding and he was actually destroying stuff. And when he got out, he looks around like, oh damn, and he destroyed everything, and that crushes him emotionally to where he's like, I'm never gonna help anyone again. And he makes certain decisions, and he goes from a high realm to a low realm just because of traumatic experience. Like it really depends on how they play with us, but like it can be fucked up.
Oh my goodness. So much. There's such manipulators. It's insane. The
Exactly.
level.
Like they can't mess with us that much until they start like manipulating. The only way they can mess with us like emotionally, like psychologically, like if they can mess up our mind, like how we think and how we perceive stuff, and our perception is the biggest thing that they're targeting. Like I'm saying like all of us can create stuff. Like reptilians and dark forces, they cannot create. They can make stuff. They can like harvest materials and actually build it, but like they don't have imagination and like creativity. So we're being targeted because we have that. And they give us this like world scenario where like it's chaos, it's really bad, and we know that they're working on the mainstream media to like create a perception that everything is bad. People
Mhm.
perceive that, think it's real, and people are the one that creating this. They cannot
Mhm.
make it without us, so like they have to give us a perception. We believe that, we buy it, we start creating it for them, and that's the game.
Yeah, exactly. That is their game. Yeah, it's so clear once you understand the trajectory that they want, and you see it time and time again, and like it even removes the fear from the situation. You
Yeah,
just you see it for what it is. It's just it's so funny that like it's the same story everywhere.
exactly.
From up there to down here, it's just the same stupid story, like manipulation. Is there any place in this universe where you can just like create without having people trying to interfere with what you're trying to do, or is that just impossible here?
Oh yeah, it's possible. There's plenty of those places. It's like you can even like get out of body, for example, and you can go to either dimension or even here in the physical universe, and you can create, let's say, your own planet, your own realm, or your own like multiverse, where like, okay, this is my stuff, and you make a command like like programming. No one can enter but me, and I'm the one who invites beings. I'm the one who like creates beings, but you like make limitations to where you're the consciousness and you're the one creating everything, but no one else is allowed to be in this playground but you. And then you can like create vast civilizations and like assume the point of view, like, or like identify with one of those beings. It's like being a god but wanting to play as Jesus, like in this physical world, like as an example. And like, okay, I just want to play in that experience, so you can actually enjoy the life and have like everything move out freely whenever you want, but there will be no one coming in interjecting and interrupting ever. So we have that ability. It's just that
So it's
like
like
for some people, they live in that peace for so long that like they get bored and they're like, well, what would happen if I would invite a bad guy here?
yeah, that's how it all started, I guess.
Pretty much. Exactly.
It's like Zoom chat, but for the universe, basically.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I remember you speaking about that in one of your videos, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, definitely. Maybe maybe I should do that for a while. I'll just invite a couple people to like play in a band, and
Yeah.
just do that for a while. Um, What else? Let's see. What else do I have here? Yeah, talking about like projecting, and when they project onto you, like visions and stuff. That's the other thing. Trying to figure out, like, when I'm, for example, I had an experience where, like, uh it lasted like exactly like 5 seconds, but I popped out, and I was in, like, basically a planet had exploded, and I was just like watching it, like, just come apart, and it was just like complete and utter destruction. Giant, like, asteroid sized rocks and fire. It was literally for 5 seconds because I was like, holy shit! And then I popped back in. Can something like that be projected onto you?
Totally. Yeah.
So how do you discern? Because uh, I don't necessarily always receive, like, the intuitive feeling that this is a deception. Like, how do you yourself discern between something that is a deception and that's being projected on you, and something that is, like, really genuine?
For me, it's more like I look at the programming. I'm not a programmer myself, but out there, like that concept works really well. I made this rule where nothing can be projected upon me, or like like it's more like deflected. They try to project, but it never reaches me, and so like I have this freedom. But before that, before I understood, like, oh, I can actually protect myself. If that would happen, it's more like like who's causing it, and like what's the reaction they get? Because like usually like when we're out there in the multiverse and like being out of body, the best thing about it is like you don't have a case anymore. You're not in a human's body or like human shoes where all your problems are with you. You're worrying and you're like, oh, I'm here, but like my girlfriend needs a. I just like had an argument with her and I need to fix things. Like that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna think about that, and like you're completely clear, like no fuss, no nothing. You're just like fully clear and in full like knowledge and like knowing everything. And so when that thing like taps into you, all of a sudden you get like this emotion or like feelings or thoughts, and it scares you. Well, it pops up. It's like more like artificial, and they're trying to push it. So like when I understood, like, oh, that's what's going on. Like I'm like traveling, and all of a sudden like it gets like very intense, like really fast. And knowing like, oh, it's caused like someone is doing it to me, so that like helps me to like look from the different like point of view, and like, oh, that's what's going on. So like I sort of call myself like this is not true, and I'm basically sort of like giving a command to like remove everything, and then here I am flying again, taking a few minutes to relax, and like like I can go on. So that would be my way of dealing with it.
Okay, that's actually a good way to deal with it. Do you find yourself, again, like, having that distractions, because those are basically what they are, right? Are they projected onto you a lot, like, or does it work for you where when you set up that deflection, it just, like, it clears it for the session, and then that's it?
For me, it's more like it happens more like all those interruptions when I'm working with other people. Cause like by myself, like I know like my standards and know who I am, so like I'm like okay, these are like my weak spots. I'm gonna work on those, and I'm like trying to cover certain like places in my life. But then working with other people, I'm open up to more different scenarios and like oh okay, like haven't expected that to happen. So for example, I make sure like like okay, no one can harm me, but when I'm by myself exploring and I can like travel, like no bad stuff really happens. But then I end up helping another person, and I get attacked in a way where I'm doing great in life, like everything's like go great, like I'm not like energized and stuff. And while I'm like in a session helping another person, boom, I get attacked. It from fully visual to pitch black. I don't see anything. I'm tired as can be. Like what happened? And like that ability was suppressed for like a day. Like no matter when whenever I try to get out of body, everything's split pitch black. I'm not seeing anything. Whoa, what's going on? So for
Mhm.
me, I was like lucky because like I made a few friends out there in the multiverse. So like calling on them, like I'm like, hey, help me. So like this like pet reptilians, if you've heard about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
So
did
like
hear
it
about.
was it was funny because like I was like let's say in this like pitch black box, not seeing anything, and like I can move with it, but like I'm moving and the box is going with me. So like I'm literally limited, like no visuals, no nothing, and not feeling anything. But I'm like something's wrong here. So like I called my friend like reptilian, and he was like literally eating the construct. So like it's like he bites it, and all of a sudden like this like light comes in. And I'm like oh I actually can see stuff. And so like like it's interesting because like you can actually have beings out there that you trust and they would help you out and they like like they can come at any time and like like they're there guarding you. Like you could just like, hey, like you're my pet dog, help me out.
It's like the ultimate video game.
Exactly.
It's the ultimate video game. Oh my goodness. So like let's how would you have gotten out of that otherwise if like would that box have been placed over you forever or would you have been able to eventually like bust your way out of it?
Yeah, technically, I don't think so because like having reptilian is like a recent thing, but similar stuff would happen to me like previously, like weeks and months and years ago when I was like doing like my sort of like work, and when that happens, I'm just like looking at like how creative am I? How much can I imagine? Like, okay, this is the scenario that happened. These are the tools that I know. I run through all of them, and none of them works. For example, okay, I have to think of something new, and then it's just like it's just like up to how creative I am. Like, oh, okay, I'm in the box. Well, I'm just gonna like try imagining shackling it or like in everything being destroyed or like like putting everything in like sort of like a making everything like squeeze into nothingness and from nothingness boom I'm out of there again. So like really there are like tons of different scenarios how it can go. Or I'm like, well, my body's there, I'm stuck, I'm just gonna destroy my body, boom, I destroyed the body where I am and I create another one elsewhere and I teleport there and like, oh, I'm out, okay. So like really depends on how creative you are.
That's amazing. That's so cool. I mean, I guess a sense of humor helps, right?
Exactly, yeah, because like there are like times when I'm messing with beings who are like like they're really hard, like hardcore psychopaths and stuff. They're into killing, like this is their stuff. I like some beings like I love killing people, and I'm like, oh shit, even when I interact with those, but like all of a sudden they're there like targeting you or someone else, and you use lots of the techniques and all of a sudden they know about those techniques, so they're sort of immune for it and like, well, you cannot harm me now. And again, like like it's all up to your creativity. So I just imagine like a box and they put that being in the box and locked it, and all of a sudden you see the box shaking because he's trying to get out and like he's stuck there. So like it's fun. It's really like like there's like infinite possibilities of what can happen. It's all up to your creativity of what you're gonna do.
That's amazing. Like, okay, so like if, you know, when we because like on Earth, when we're talking about it, it's like it's so light, but then when you talk about Earth and the situation here, it gets like so serious and it's so like it's so real, you know, because it's so like intense and in your face.
Yeah.
Like how do you see like a situation where we're ever gonna like be able to like grow beyond this thing, or is this like what this playground is and you just have to like get out of here and like figure it out and leave? Is that pretty much the thing here?
I think like everything depends from the people's perception, because like everyone's living as if their dream world, like when they go to sleep at night, this is only a dream and nothing besides that is true, and this is the only life that they have. So everything here is real and nothing out there is real anymore. So this is the only experience that they have. And with that
Yeah.
perception and understanding, everyone's living like this is the only thing, and this the scenario they get is the only thing that's gonna happen because there's nothing besides. Like they're stuck at level of what's given to them. Like, oh well, if this is what's happening, they're agreeing to it and they're okay with it, or more like this is the scenario and they're stuck with it. Oh my god, what are we gonna do? I don't know anything and stuff. So for me it's easier because I know that like this life is temporarily, like this is just like a one-time experience, and there's like vast multiverse where I spend like hundreds of thousands of years. I can live as a planet and live there for millions of years and like have like different experiences, and this is yet another vessel, another point of view, another aspect of me, and this is just like temporarily thing, and like I'm here but I'm gonna be moved and that's okay. So knowing that gives me more freedom and more like, oh, this is all okay. It's just one of those, you know. So I'm not like pushing the pressure off myself here, but at the same time, like, oh well, it's really bad here on Earth, and since I'm here longer and like most of my attention is here anyways, what can we do about it? You know, like so then we shift attention and like what can we do for it and stuff. So
Mm.
it's a thing, but I believe that we can make things better. Just like working on ourselves, like like being in that like loving place where we're creative and we're like higher in the vibration. That's the most important thing, because like if we're not living in fear, we're not creating it or manifesting it. And if we're living in that like good place in life, we're the ones creating everything. And like this pandemic or whatever else is happening that like scares most people is not affecting you in any way, because you're living above that. You're living and like giving people love or like music and just like sharing your stuff, and you're being creative and you're living your life and not affected by those things. depends on how you look at it. But for me, like, like I'm immune to that, so like it's not really messing with me.
Yeah, likewise, likewise. I've noticed that it's actually this whole situation has been very has brought a lot of abundance to me, which is very odd because I see a lot of people, and that's not the case. It's not the case for them, but for me, it was like,
Yeah,
wow, like I'm able to do a lot of the stuff I love, and like I'm making more money, I'm saving, like the 3D world stuff is like actually going well, which is very odd, considering what is being projected onto us.
yeah,
But what did I want to say? Oh yeah. So like all this talk that we see in this whole realm, not the new age, but this when we talk about spirituality and this type of stuff, the stuff that we see online and all these researchers, like they're talking about we're going to a higher dimension and this and that. Do you think that is like are we really going there? Are we really going to a higher dimension? Or is this like their perception of what is happening, but this is like the playground and this is what it is? Do you think we're headed toward like through the fourth dimension right now into the fifth, or are we in the third and that's where we're going to stay? And maybe people's perceptions might grow, but we're gonna stay here.
yeah. I'm sort of keen to believe that everything is true, but also everything depends on our belief systems and how we're going to experience it. For
Mm-hmm.
those that say like, oh, 2012 we're going to have the end of the world, we're all going to die, and they like really believed in that, those people died and their lifetime here on earth ended. People who are going to like, oh, it's not going to happen, they moved on and they're still living here. And for both parties that thing happened. And for some, like if they're like, I'm going to be on earth but we're going to shift in the fifth dimension and everything's going to be good, um they're gonna experience that. But for example, for me, I'm like, well, I can just like go to fifth dimension right now. I don't need to wait for something to happen big and like, oh, I'm gonna lift whenever someone says me to. Like, no, I can go there right now. So like for me, because seeing how the afterlife is, as in like everything's our belief system territory, and everything that you believe about it will be there. I think same thing like belongs here on Earth, and like whatever we believe in is gonna happen. And both parties, whatever they see, both will experience that thing and both things will be true. So like I'm not saying like people are, oh, you're wrong because you're thinking this and I'm right because I think that. Like, no, everyone is right, everything is true, but everyone will experience things like individually depending on what they believe and how they understand stuff, and both things will happen. So like it's like having like tons of timelines, and you can like choose to, okay, I'm gonna drink tea, but I can also drink water. And like, so like you can actually like go into like what happens after you drink tea or what happens after you drink water, and there's like tons of different lifestyles of possibilities of what can happen, and all of them are happening simultaneously. It's just that when you choose one action and your attention moves, you choose where you're gonna go, and all of this is happening. But you can choose like, oh, well, I'm gonna jump there, and you're still living life where all of a sudden you're healthy, or all of a sudden you move into a different kind of career, and you're just like all of it is happening already. It's just like we choose where we're gonna go. But that's how I
Mm.
see it.
No, I mean it makes sense, and you definitely have a broader perspective because you have that access to the video game, the other levels, right? Um, so like saying that, like when you have like these humans that are like, I mean humans that are like on the other side of duality, the ones that like perpetrate the agenda against us, right, against everyone else. Do they have that creativity and that ability to manifest their intent and desire in that way? So let's say, with Bill Gates, if he wanted in his timeline, if he wants to shift to a timeline where he got what he wanted, is that possible for him because he's human?
Yeah, and another thing, depends on how we play this level. Because like, let's say we have humans like here in the physical like reality and like on Earth, but there's also like certain factions of humans in the higher dimensions and like greater realities and what people call Ka and stuff. And like it's consciousness identifying with an experience of, let's say, a human or someone else. But if you choose to play a certain role, you still have like, okay, this is what I'm gonna have, and like like consciousness chooses to play as a human being in the higher dimensions, and they still have the creativity and they still have the freedom to move out of body and do different things, so they can create that stuff. And some people are like, well, I've played the good guy for billions of lifetimes. I'm so freaking tired. I want to play Darth Vader right now. You know, you played Obi-Wan Kenobi and like all the good guys from like Star Wars. You're tired of them. You've played all of them like 10 times already. You want a new DLC with a new better game with a new like enemy to play. And finally, I'm gonna make it more interesting and play as a different kind of being. So now you can like manifest like, okay, I'm gonna be a bad guy, and like you're just assuming the role, playing the different faction, and you're gonna play it differently. And sometimes you're like, okay, I have too many powers, I'm too powerful, I'm gonna make it hardcore game, take away all my powers, I'm gonna do the same thing but without any powers. And like, you know, like now here we are in a freaking human body here on Earth without
Yeah,
any powers, playing it on hardcore in a different factions again. You
hard mode, nightmare
know.
mode. Oh man, yeah. Uh, what did I want to ask? There was something that came up. Oh, it just escaped my mind. It was probably. Oh yeah, that's what it was. We were talking about like friends. You know, you having friends in the multiverse and stuff like that. And I just recently had like an experience where that was exactly that. It was a dream where, you know, I say dreams, but like I know that they're like, you know, I'm traveling and I'm doing stuff. So eventually in the dream, I come to a point where I meet these two people, and we were laughing very much like this. We were speaking about like I didn't know who they were, but like I knew that they were friends, and we were just like laughing at like the absurdity of like life on Earth, and you know how crazy it can be. And I asked them, you know, how much longer am I going to be here? Like, how much longer? I can't take it. It's and I remember saying it's, and they asked me like, well, how is it? How is it? I go, it's like hell. It's hell over here. It's just crazy. And then they go, I asked them like, why am I here, man? Why am I here? Because I'm still trying to figure out like how I got here. And they said something about anchoring, you're here to anchor like some kind of blue energy or something like that. I don't know if you could direct me uh, in any type of direction. Have you heard of that type of thing before? What blue energy, like, what does that mean anything to you?
For me, it would really depend on who those beings are and their like, let's say, code of like talking. Because let's say we have certain cults here on Earth, like let's say it's Scientology, and they're gonna have like, well, we're gonna have like GPMs and stuff. Like, what the fuck are GPMs? Like, you don't know about it. But in a different faction, let's say we have like some people like that are going like to see their space program, and GPM will mean a different thing. So like they can
Uh,
have their own terms and like their own language, and like, okay, blue
right.
energy for these beings will mean like just like gathering love or like giving like something. For these beings, like, okay, blue energy is actually dominating and controlling and stuff. Like, so like different races, it really depends with who you are with, you know.
All right. All right. Well, I mean, so we got to think about like that, definitely. I mean, I guess because it came from them, and the mood was very jovial and happy, it must be something. And I did see what it looked like. I was shown like what it looked like, and it did seem positive. But I'm always, you know, I always try to approach it with like a discerning way, you know.
Yeah. And another thing, like, like they might be your like family from the past life, and like star family. Oh, I'm a star seed. Well, all of us are. Like, like we
Yeah.
lived for so long. We've been in probably every place. It's just like, like with some groups we identify more and we have more connections. We feel more familiar with them. With others, not so much. Like, you can spend like 50,000 years with Pleiadians, but then all of a sudden you end up with Lyrans, and you like Lyrans way more than Pleiadians. And like, oh, there's my family. Like, like this is my best buddy. So like you have different relationships with them, and you can identify with them. So like, when you have your buddies and you're talking about it all, you can like, just like, whenever you go to bed, for example, imagine them, think of them, and like ask them a question, like, like, hey, what's your race, how you're called, like where are you from and stuff. And you can actually like, they will perceive us like being sent out there. Like whenever we call upon them, it's like, hey, they telepathically got a oh, look, notification from Gianni, I'm gonna talk to him right now. Like, so like they pick up on us like whenever we talk about him, and we can just like walk through the street and like still be busy as can be, but we're gonna be like, oh, James, because he told you his name, for example, and you reach out to him, and in your mind you tell him something, they're gonna pick it up. So like you can find out about like who you are, or like, like for example, what race is that, and like, so now you know more information about them, and you can just keep on discovering, well, what does like blue energy mean. and and they explain it all about it, like, oh well, okay, so that's one thing. But at the same time, some people have like friends and stuff, and they tell us like what we're gonna do, or what's our mission. And it's okay to change your mission at any time. You don't have to like, oh okay, well, like having like blue energy and like helping people out and stuff, you might have a great goal, but you don't have to agree to it anymore. It doesn't have to limit you here, like this is exactly what you're going to do. So you can sort of like revoke the agreements of like having to do it, and this is my goal, and you can still keep on doing it because you want to, but there are no agreements limiting you, and now you have the freedom to leave without actually having to do certain things.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome answer. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm going to explore that. Is this just happened like last week? It was just a dream I had last week, so definitely gonna go down that path and explore that. I'll let you know what
Yeah.
hopefully it's not the dominating energy or whatever. I don't think it is. Yeah, I guess I got like one or two more questions, and then
Sure.
we can call it. Just based on what we talked about, do you think these beings that choose like that to play the bad guy, I guess they end up forgetting that they chose that, and then they just like, can they devolve? Because like you get that talk a lot from like that other side of duality, like the good side, where they're like, you're bad beings. If you don't grow up, you're just gonna like continue to be the same way you are, and you're just gonna phase yourself out of reality, and you're gonna, that type of thing. Is that like a consequence for getting so wrapped up in that side of things?
Personally, I don't think so. Like, we might have had beings out there who are like playing the good guy for billions of years, and they're freaking tired of peace. They're tired of having one family, one freaking girlfriend, all the freaking life, like for billions of years. I want something new, please. And so you decide to like have a different decision, different kind of lifetime. You just pick a role. There are no consequences for playing a role. And like, okay, I want to play a bad guy. And you get engaged in the role, and you might have full knowledge, like, okay, I'm playing a bad guy. It was fun. I'm going to do it again and again and again and again. And you play the good guy for like a very long time, that you want to like keep on playing with the bad guy on a new level and just try out all the possibilities. Like you have a renegade mode or something, and then you play in the fifth dimension, like fourth dimension, like higher dimension, and then you come here on Earth, and people right here, like who are like let's say pedophiles and psychopaths, and they're like into rituals, like Hillary Clinton and stuff like that. When they die, I really don't think they're gonna go to hell, or like and like really their life is gonna be done and they're gonna have their justice. No, they're just playing a role at the same certain time, and they're like, okay, I'm done. What's now? And they can keep coming back on Earth if they want to, or they can keep going to like play different games. But the degradation, the way I see it, is like it happens in the loss of awareness and consciousness. As in, from people, for example, we keep reincarnating here on Earth, and the degradation starts when we start losing all of our memories and losing who we are. So we came as a massive being, and we might come here on Earth as a like massive being with a lot of knowledge. But then like, oh well, it was too easy. I want to do it again without knowledge. And then we play without having the memories of past lives. And then still kind of like, okay, I handle it, but I want to play on a different level. And we keep choosing to sort of like pick ourselves apart until we lose what we already came here for. We lose the goal, we lose like all the stuff, and also we keep doing it again and again and again, losing ourselves again and again, and basically becoming nothing. So that is the trap, and that is the degradation. But like like bad guys, just because they're playing the dark side role doesn't mean that they're gonna degrade. It's more like when they do too much and they lose themselves in that, and they just keep on doing it, they're gonna have the same consequences as the good guys. But that's the way I've seen it happen a lot to like a lot of beings out there.
That is a fantastic perspective. That we don't hear enough about that. You get a lot of like people that and I'm I'm the same way. I want justice. Who doesn't want to see like
Yeah.
the good happen? But yeah, we don't hear enough about that. About there's a lot of like, oh, you've been bad, and this is what's gonna happen. Blah 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 blah. And it's so nice to hear that like it's so flexible that there is a that I mean I'm not a fan of what these bad people are doing by any means, but it's so interesting to hear that like you can exhaust the options, you can just keep going stuck in that loop, and eventually you'll just get tired of it, and you'll pull yourself out of it.
Yeah.
So it's
And
nice to.
there's a lot of beings out there who are gonna play both parties, and they might play here in this life as a hardcore psychopath, and they fuck us over. But this is their role, this is their game, this is what they're playing and stuff. They might not have like full memories like we don't have and stuff, but like it's just like the lifetime and whatever they learn while they're here, and they get out like, oh well, that was enough. I want to choose something else, and they play the bad guy, and they can switch to good guy, bad guy, good guy, bad guy, and like they can keep switching. But like I don't think there are any consequences for playing a role. It's just like more
Mhm.
like the loss of awareness and who we are is the biggest degradation to where we come as like massive beings who are like consciousness and godlike beings, and we become little entities without like oh, I'm just like gonna follow everyone else. So like that's when we lose our true like abilities, and like we depict ourselves, like pick ourselves apart and stuff, and play both sides. And even though we want justice, but this is the present experience where we want that. This is like, oh, we're being fucked with. I don't want it anymore. I'm done. And this is the
Mhm.
role where we're stuck with. But out there, we're like I'm just as bad. Like for me, like yeah, Akvile is helping other people. She's killing these reptilians. Yeah, I'm kicking their ass. I'm the bad guy for them. So same stuff. They don't like me.
Bad, Akvile,
I
bad.
know.
All right, so let me just show you one little
Sure.
picture, and then we'll be good to go. I was talking to a buddy, and he was sending me, because I told him, I can I figured out a way where we can see like entities, like so he started sending me a bunch of pictures. Try this, try that, try Madonna. So I tried a couple different people. Thought you'd be curious to see. Are these like things that you've seen? Like,
Yeah.
what is this a Draco, or is that just like a regular reptilian?
There's like both. Like seems like to me like more of a like regular reptilian, but like they do have different looks and stuff, so could be both.
Yeah.
But those beings like definitely like seem
'Cause I
different.
even I even got JP Morgan. These are all the ones that he sent me.
Yeah.
Where is he? Hey, JP Morgan had one too. It's so like the fact that it's hovering over there. Does that mean that like they have a connection, an innate connection with it?
I think so, and more likely they don't necessarily have to be aware of it. They don't necessarily have to
Okay.
communicate with them, but there are lots of cases where these people, we can have like presidents, we can have the Pope, and if you've heard of the Farsight Institute, they're like doing remote viewing and
Yes.
stuff, and they're
Yeah.
checking out like, oh look, a Pope, we're checking out like celebrities or like certain people in life, and they find out that like these beings are controlled by AI or certain entities out there. So same thing, like like it's just like shows like, oh, this like sort of like controller above this person. Like they might be close, they might have that like voices in their head, they might have like they're making decisions, but they're acting on automatic, and they don't have like the full control of their body and like all their actions. Or more like entities are messing with people, and if people are not aware of the entities, then it's as good as like I have all those thoughts that entities give me, and I'm not aware of it. When you become like, oh, it's the thought of the entity, all of a sudden you know who's there. These people might not have the knowledge that they're actually being messed with, and all their actions and decisions and the voices that they hear are actually affected by the other beings. So like I pick up like where they might have relationships, they might be controlled, they might be messed with, they might just like not be aware of it all, and there's lots of cases out there. It comes out as a
Fast.
good being and gets messed with by the big being, turns into bad guy and stuff. You know.
Cool. Cool. And Bill Gates has like one of those Easter Island guys on there,
Hmm.
which was very fascinating. Because I didn't even know they were beings. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. What a great
You're
conversation. I
welcome.
really
Yeah, I love
enjoyed
talking to you.